When you say live, we on public? Okay, let me put some glasses on. All right, as soon as they're ready, I'm gonna be ready. Yes, it's cold. And look, they got in there to have a heater, but it ain't on. Is that for, is that what you use when you're in here?
You're hot. We're
No, don't touch
freezing.
it, no, don't touch it because we ain't gonna be able to turn it
Okay,
on.
you sit over there, but does that bother you if she turns it on?
No, if you want it on, that's fine. Just remind somebody to turn it off. I'm just saying when you.
I want it on. Yeah, but turn it toward me if she doesn't want it on.
You ready?
I'm about to freeze. But if I put it on my arms, then my knees are freezing. It's just, I don't know where, ever since I had the surgery, I've been cold, really cold.
Good afternoon. We call to order the Planning Commission meeting for September the 10th, and it is now 2:03. Can I get a roll call, please?
Susan Dennis,
Present?
Leola Williams,
Here,
Eartha Banks,
Present.
Annette Pyatt,
present.
Charlene Laws, and we have a quorum.
All right. And is there any public comment on items not on the agenda? Seeing none, move on to approval of the August 13th, 2025 meeting minutes. Are there any changes or corrections?
None?
Hearing none?
I don't have any.
Oh, because you didn't have a copy of the minutes?
No, I have a copy right here.
Okay. All right, so there's no changes? All right, so can I get a motion to approve the minutes for August 13th, 2025?
Make a motion the minutes be approved for August 13, 2025.
And I will second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Motion carries. New business, we're going to turn it over to Mr. Fitz, the Director of Planning and Zoning.
Great, thank you. Madam Chair, I would like to propose a change to the order of our new business agenda. Since the first project on the current agenda is a city-related project, and we have guests here for the second one, we'd like to address the drive-through restaurant first, if that's all right with the Planning Commission.
Anybody have any objections?
No.
None?
Okay, great.
Yes, proceed.
All right, thank you. I knew you'd have no argument because I've had this on the slide as going first anyhow, so thank you. So this project, our first project, is a preliminary final land development, and the plan proposes wrong project, sorry. The plan proposes a restaurant with a drive-through, a parking lot with 30 parking spaces, an outdoor eating area. And just for reference, if you remember, most of you were here for a review of a sketch plan at the December 11th, 2024 Planning Commission meeting. For some site context, this project is in the C2R zoning district. And I have some aerial photographs, some photographs, and then I also have images of the plans. But here's an aerial. This is looking northeast, I would say. You can see Harrah's in the background, East 4th Street's in the foreground, and the white dots obviously circle the site we're going to talk about today. Here's an image off of East 4th Street towards Hinkson Street. The state prison is on the right. which is south of the site. Harris is way in the background, and you can see the double row of, thank you, sycamore trees along East 4th Street that exist on the parcel that we're talking about today. And then this is like an opposite view on East 4th Street back to the site. And just one thing to point out, as we do in our letter here from the Planning and Zoning Department, that there's an existing sign at the corner advertising for Harris. One last image of the site. This is from Harris Boulevard looking southwest. And again, it has sycamore trees on Harris Boulevard, but this is an area where there'll be an entrance and exit to the site that we'll be talking about. And then just really for notification to the applicant, that I've got this image that they provided of the proposed layout on top of the aerial photograph. I've got the site plan, which we'll come back to, the grading plan, the utility plan, the landscape and lighting plan, and the truck turning template plan, if you will. I'm going to jump back to the site plan, and I'm not going to go through all my comments, but I will have your attention to the last page of the Planning and Zoning letter, dated September 3rd. What I've tried to do is summarize some of the follow-up information we'd like for the applicant to respond to, and some additional items that aren't actually listed there. But just to reiterate, this drive-through restaurant is an allowed use in the C2R. It does appear to meet all dimensional requirements on the parcel. But again, there's some items that we'd like some clarification on or more information on. And those being under the first bullet on page 6, that we'd like to know the hours of operation for the restaurant, if known at this time. We would like the applicant to put a project data table comparing all proposed development metrics against the zoning ordinance requirements, just for ease of confirming that the application complies with the zoning. That would include the expected number of employees as well in that zoning table. We'd like to know if the facade along East 4th Street will include window openings. That relates to my comment 6. We would like to know if the new building has any exposed metal panels on the exterior siding, because as you know, the Planning Commission, we have design standards limiting the amount of metal siding on front facades. We would like an explanation of why there's no sidewalk proposed on Hinkson Street, even though there's an existing sidewalk on East 4th Street. And to us, it does kind of make sense to provide access on Hinkson Street in addition to Harris Boulevard for sidewalk access, that is. We would like the applicant to provide foot candle readings on the lighting plan and clearly identify the proposed luminaire model on the light poles. And then I'm on the fourth to last bullet here. We'd like to indicate where electrical service will be underground and show the location and screening method for utility meters, because one of our regulations talks about screening of utility meters, especially if they're in front of, or especially if they are on a front facade. We would like the applicant to explain or at least show the drive-through stacking capacity on their drive-through lanes. We'd like them to describe any proposed signage. We'd like them to include a construction detail for the proposed dumpster enclosure. They have shown where the enclosure will be. We just would like to see a detail of it. And then some miscellaneous items that aren't bulleted here but are in the letter. We would like, before this plan is recorded, and this is something we've got in practice now, is that we determine between the city and the applicant that there's a certain address for this new parcel. And we've made a recommendation that it should be 701 East 4th Street. But that's up for discussion with the applicant, but that's our recommendation from the planning department. just three more items, or 3 or 4 items. In the letter, we asked that the applicant consider putting some kind of protective barrier around the outdoor seating. It could be a fence, it could be something just to separate and provide some safety for people that would be sitting in the outdoor seating area as it's adjacent to parking spaces and the driveway access. The applicant has received a memo from the fire marshal, and they have signed off on the plan. They had no comments. The applicant received that memo yesterday. The Shade Tree Commission has yet to provide comments, and I've mentioned to the applicant that they'll be forthcoming. They should have them this week. And then just last 2 items that we've been mentioning to most significant developments that with a building this size that we have them look at sustainable approaches, whether it's a white roof, green roof, or solar panels. And just the white roof, the benefit of that is it just reflects solar rays and helps with cooling the building. And then lastly, as we typically do again for these types of developments, we ask that charging stations be considered for this development, and if they aren't going to be proposed at this time, at least maybe plan for the future use of them and provide conduit underground for a future charging system. That is a summary of my letter. I'm happy to take any questions about that letter before the applicant comes up and provides their presentation.
Anybody have any questions?
Nope.
Okay.
No? Okay.
All right, so if
So
there
I'm-
anybody here representing
I'm gonna go get the.
would like to come forward, state your name and address. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Scott Mill. I'm with Van Cleef Engineering Associates. I'm a landscape architect there and provided the plan seen before you. I was here back in December of last year. We were here for a sketch presentation. The plan is very much similar to what we presented then. There were some changes and modifications based on feedback we received. A few of those comments that we received. And this is Jeff Brown, also with my office. He's an engineer, did the actual engineering of the plan and layout. But some of those comments that we had discussed, one was providing the outdoor seating, which we have provided that area per Mr. Fritz's comment in terms of providing some sort of protection. I don't think that would be a problem with complying with that requirement or that request of providing some sort of fencing or wall surrounding it to help, or bollards to help, protect them from vehicles. Another comment that we did was we had originally shown that row of street trees, that existing row. There are 2 rows out there. We had shown both of them being removed. You had requested that we kind of pull the plan back so we can preserve the trees. So we're able to preserve the first row, which is a nice row of mature sycamore trees. So we're able to preserve those. And due to spacing limits and size and everything, that second row, unfortunately, we're not able to preserve. We moved the dumpster. If you're looking there at the plan, you can kind of see on the left side of the screen the square adjacent to the loading area. Previously, it was on the other side of that entry drive near the parking on the opposite side. So we moved it to the other side of that drive aisle, which will make for easier access for the employees to take the trash out. It also provides ample room there for a trash truck to come in and remove or dump the dumpster into the back of the trash truck. We added sidewalk from the building out to 4th Street. You can see between the building and 4th Street, you can see the sidewalk there, and then we also have a crosswalk. We also acknowledge that Mr. Fritz had made comment about providing sidewalk along Hinkson Street. Currently, we're not showing any connection, But our thought was, since there already is a sidewalk on the opposite side, we can run sidewalk out along our entry drive and to cross over to Hinkson to access that sidewalk on the other side. So that would allow us to, it's kind of in the shadow there on the left side
Oh,
of
yeah. Yeah.
the prison wall there. But yeah, there is sidewalk adjacent to the curb. So we were thinking we could utilize that sidewalk since it's already there. We wouldn't want to have to add impervious if we don't need to. So our thought was, like I said, to extend sidewalk on the upper side of, if you will, the north side of the entry drive out to where it intersects with Hinkson, then have a crosswalk accessing the sidewalk to the other side. And our thought was, if we're going to do that, and then we also have the sidewalk out to Harris Boulevard, that kind of covers pedestrians coming from either direction. So I don't know how necessary that sidewalk then is out to 4th Street. Because if you're coming from the east, you're going to go to Harris Boulevard, come down there, and come in the site that way. If you're coming from the west, you're going to walk past the prison, come down Hinkson, and come in from there. I don't know that there's anybody that's going to continue across 4th Street and then come down into the site there. So that was one of our thoughts. I don't know, I don't want to put you on the spot, but that's kind of where our thinking was for that.
So you talking about eliminating the one you showing on, going to 4th Street now and put the one on Hinkson Street?
Correct. Because like I said, if you're coming from either direction, you're going to get to those corners first, go down and into the site that way, rather than kind of walk past the building and then come back down from the, kind of the 4th Street side.
Yeah, what do you need, Candace? So, I think he's saying that they would like to use this existing sidewalk, which is on the state prison side of Hinkson. And then where their entrance is, they're gonna have a crosswalk to get to their sidewalk system that's internal to the site. If I go back to the map, it's hard to see, it's under the shadow here, but there's that sidewalk here, and then they would cross over, versus having a sidewalk, as we suggested, on the north side, east side of Hinkson. No, you would have access, they, really what you're not seeing in their plan is a crosswalk, essentially.
But I can't get to it from 4th Street walking on those sidewalk. I gotta go on the opposite side by the prison to be able to come down some and then cross over to get to the restaurant. There's no sidewalk on that, right? You see where that is at?
Yeah,
There will be no sidewalk right there.
that's what they're suggesting, yes, yep, yeah.
On 4th Street, you want to stay on this side of the street and come down all the way and then cross over.
But I think what they're also saying, and I'm not going to put words in your mouth, is that you have this access. If you're coming from the north or east along this sidewalk, you would go down here first, or go down here first before coming down to that sidewalk.
Wait, but,
Is that what you're saying? Yeah. If you're coming from City Hall, you'd be walking here.
Walk into it, I gotta turn. I can't, or I could cross the street, no,
You have,
because the trees is right there, right?
no, you could either cross here, or you could go down and then cross. Either way, you're crossing Hinkson no matter what.
but either way, if you cross over Hinkson Street, there, on that side of the restaurant is not a sidewalk. That's what you're saying. So what he's saying two things. One, eliminate the 4th Street sidewalk that he's showing there, that piece going up. So where's the 4th Street sidewalk that he's showing on the plan?
Over to the right. Oh, the one that goes up to 4th Street from the restaurant. There you go.
That, he's gonna eliminate that if he puts a sidewalk from Hinkson Street across.
Right.
So either way, you're gonna lose one. But we're trying to make sure that on the restaurant side, there's a sidewalk, a complete sidewalk, not rely on the prison sidewalk, and then a crosswalk over. Did I say that correctly?
I think you did it.
Yeah.
Ask the applicant if that's clear. Yeah.
If you don't mind if I can use your.
No, go ahead. Just have to use the
Use the touchpad.
yep.
So our thinking is if you're coming, oh, sorry. Our thinking is if you're coming from City Hall and you're walking along here, to get to the restaurant, you would want to make this turn anyway, to come this way and then into the restaurant here, versus skipping past that, coming all the way over to here, past the restaurant and coming down and around. And likewise, if you're coming from the other direction, coming this way, you'll come down Harris Boulevard, there's sidewalk along here, and then sidewalk all along our entry drive, down and in this way, rather than bypassing it, coming all the way over to here, and then coming down. So you're basically covered coming from either direction, is what our thought is.
But my question is, how many entries into the set restaurant, where are they located?
The entrance for customers would be here,
Just one?
in this corner. There will be another access point back in this corner for employees, for when they have deliveries or for the trash or things like that. But for guests, it would be in the lower right corner. And that way, too, we can eliminate this crosswalk that's kind of in the midpoint of the stacking area for the drive-through.
No, so you crossing over where you drive in?
Mhm.
Oh.
Yes.
That one.
Create a safety hazard. I would only add too, like, the intent of the zoning ordinance is to make sure there's just direct access to the building and not circuitous. So in my mind, what they're proposing, if they're willing to do the sidewalk on the east side or north side of Hinkson, it would be okay to remove the crosswalk that's going through the drive-through, if that's what you're saying, you're offering.
Our proposal.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think you had it. Our proposal would be to provide the access along here. We'd have a connection across the front here and then to the store, but then from here over to this point and then a crosswalk over to this side of Hinkson.
Yeah. Well, maybe, I don't know if there's an
That's an engineering
issue with
question.
that, but. I would, let's have you go through your whole presentation. We can come back to that as a discussion point.
Sure.
That's okay with you.
Sure. We do have both review letters from Mr. Fritz and from Colliers. There really isn't much in the letter that we looked at and said we can't comply with, or we really feel like we need to discuss. Only a couple items. One was the sidewalk. Another was there was a comment related to repairing or replacing curbing and sidewalk. I drove by the site today. Other than the areas where we're actually proposing to tie in, I don't think there's really a need to replace any of the curbing or sidewalk. It'll all look to be in really good shape. No breaks or cracks or anything like that. So notwithstanding that, I think we're in pretty good shape. Otherwise, the letters are generally will comply type comments or resolved to the satisfaction of township staff. But there's really not much more for us to discuss. I don't know, Jeff, if you had anything, or if you had any questions other than that.
Yeah, I'll just add in that hi, I'm Jeff Brown with Van Cleef. I did speak with Ron Madison regarding some of the stormwater matters, which he had in his Collier's letter dated September 5th. And in speaking with Ron, I think what we can work these out technically at, through the process of revisions of the plan. So I don't see any issues directly related to some of the stormwater. We can discuss that in greater detail with the engineer as we get deeper into the review cycle. We will actually, though, continue to process the application through the Delaware County Conservation District so that we get all their approvals through the DEP system and get an NPDES permit for this site. We do know that it falls within some, areas near the coastline, essentially, so we need to make sure that what we're proposing is adequate for the necessary stormwater on site. But we will meet all the requirements of the stormwater requirements that we need to with regards to the ordinance.
Anybody have any more questions for them?
Not right
I
now.
have a question. The direction going towards the railroad tracks, the street, what you call it, Henson Street? is that a traveled street at the end of there, a well-traveled street, or?
So as I understand it, I think it's Hinkson, but
Hinkson.
it has placards up regarding no entry because of the prison, and I know that they use it quite probably extensively to survey the perimeter. But what I understand that there's no access beyond the point that you can see here, where the vertical upright line, that's the extent of public traffic that's allowed back into that area. Aside from that, you're not getting a lot of travel down there, and that's part of the reason we'd like to maybe relocate the crosswalk to that mid-block area down there, because it'd be a limited traffic location.
Did you have on the back of that, was that some kind of idea of what it might look like?
Yeah, we have samples of other operations that the applicant has proposed. These are samples. They would be close in relationship, but they will have to be modeled for this particular location.
So proposed Dunkin' Donuts, because that was my next question. What type of drive-through? Whose would it be?
Yes, the one is Dunkin', the other item has not been,
Kenny,
I'm sorry, the one is a Dunkin' Donuts, that is correct. There's enough space there for 2 operations, but currently the Dunkin' is the only one that we're kind of speaking to.
Y'all did a traffic study, because I've seen Dunkin' Donuts off of major highways causing a pileup during mid-mornings, coming down Edgemont, on
Right.
322. That's the worst.
Well, I will say with this particular site, and Scott being more the zoning help here, with the locations of the access points on Harrah's and Hinkson, we're staying off of 4th Street with potential stacking issues. As you can see, we can flip this particular plan around again. We do show in the rendering, you can see a stacking total. It's 11 cars stacking, but there is one that had just moved out of the stacking lane. So therefore, we do show 11 cars potentially stacked in there. And obviously, on-site, there is the availability for additional cars. So now, I'm not sure of the store that you spoke of, and I don't know the
People
specifics.
literally try to stay not on Edgemont. They don't move.
Right.
Trying to get into the drive-through area. And the same tends to be off of 322.
Yeah.
When you're going down, it may be, the drive-through may be full. And then that lane of that major highway is impeded because they're sitting there waiting to get their turn through the drive-through. So,
There was a comment in Collier's letter to provide a statement from a traffic consultant. We will work to have that added on there so that we do show compliance with the potential traffic concerns there as we show it, as it is required in the ordinance.
so Dunkin' Donuts, or you said 2 thoughts?
I'm not at, I do not know.
Oh,
So at this point, I can only say that it is the Dunkin' potential there.
Okay, any more questions?
Nope.
Okay.
city engineer.
We want,
Yeah.
we're gonna, oh,
You should hear from Collier.
yeah, we should hear from Collier, I would think first. Collier, and then we'll, just hold on to it. Yeah, we should, Collier, so,
Thank you.
okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. If you allow me,
Oh, okay. Oh.
We can email these to you as well. Yeah.
thank you, Madam Chairperson. We submitted our engineering review letter dated September 5th. I'll get it handy in front of me. So we're generally in support of this plan. It's a good layout. The site plan works well. I think they'll be able to prove to you about the stacking concerns because the location of the driveway, even if they couldn't stack all the cars on their own property, they have Hinkson Street itself and the long driveway coming from Harris Boulevard. So I don't think that will be a concern, the stacking, but it's up to the applicant to prove to you on that. As far as what they proposed, alternatively for pedestrian access today, we don't have any initial apprehensions about that, but obviously their next submission will have to show that to you so that it's illustrated on the submitted plans. And then we always state that any request for relief from the subdivision land development ordinance should be in the form of a letter citing each section of the SAUDO in which they are seeking full or partial relief, and then provide the justification in writing so you fully understand before you're asked to make any decisions on that. So that's up to the applicant when they resubmit to submit such documentation for you. Our biggest concerns with the project, and I don't think that's necessarily a project killer, is their stormwater management strategy. Believe it or not, the site is impacted by the 100-year floodplain. The floodplain actually squirts through the viaduct, for lack of a better engineering term, and impacts the site. That in itself is one concern, but their stormwater management has stormwater basins that could be impacted by the 100-year flood. In other words, if the waters outside the basin flood the site, then the basin itself can't operate properly. They can't discharge. The other aspect is that this was an industrial site previously, and we raised concerns in our letter about it being an Act 2 site and whether or not there are heavy metals or other contamination on the site, which would prohibit infiltration from the bottom of the stormwater basins that are proposed. They did do infiltration testing. We have to look at that a bit closer. And thirdly, if you're in a 100-year storm event and the ground is all saturated, then infiltration really doesn't work. So the layout, we really don't have any problem with, but the stormwater management study needs far more detailed looking to make sure it operates properly. Their stormwater management, if you can see by this plan, has a basin toward Harris Boulevard and a basin toward Hinkson Street. And did I pronounce that correctly? Hinkson. I've been tripping on that ever since this plan came in. And a rain garden along Hinkson Street closer to 4th Avenue. The western portion of the property as it's depicted now shows it tying into what they believe to be a combined sewer down in the corner. And our discussions with Delcora is that may not be possible because of their EPA order on their combined sewer overflows. If that's the case, and we'll get to the bottom of that with the applicant, and all the stormwater has to tie into the stormwater system that is on Harris Boulevard. The ownership of that appears to be private and may be with Harris Corporation, that they own that stormwater system and is not part of the Delcora Stormwater Authority of City of Chester, that it's a private. That in itself is not a deal killer. It would have to be part of their lease agreement. And that's one thing I did want to mention is that the ownership of the property apparently is not going to change. And it will be a long-term lease agreement between the developer and Harris in which they'll develop the property, but it won't change ownership. So Harris would be signing as the owner. The developer would be signing as a developer/tenant when we get to a final record plan.
So Harris the current owner of the land?
Correct. And then the maintenance of the stormwater that is on Harris property after field observation is a concern itself. It appears that it's not being maintained. It's all clogged. and they probably have some flooding problems because of that on their site, but it does go directly to Wrigley Creek, and we have gotten the plans for that from the Delcora, so we'll be able to share that with the applicant as well. All that being said, we have concerns. We want to work through the stormwater. We want to participate in a pre-application meeting with the applicant and the Delaware County Conservation District and get all that stuff sorted out before it comes back to you for you to see any revisions to the plan.
So my question is, so if Harris is the owner and they are the tenant, wouldn't Harris be part of that meeting?
They should be part of any meeting because they're going to retain ownership. It's their prerogative to attend or not attend. But that's with, similarly, when a developer comes before you and doesn't have ownership, they might have an agreement of sale to show that they're equitable owners and can present a plan to you and are a qualified applicant. The same would need to be true for here, that there should be a preliminary lease agreement provided, redacted how it may, but provided to the city of Chester, knowing that they are only an applicant, but the owner needs to be signing the application as well as Harris. So those kind of paperwork, we'll work with the solicitor's office and the planning department and make sure that's cleared up before the next time you see the plan. And I'd be happy to answer any other questions you have from our September 5th engineering review letter, but it sounds like they feel that they can comply.
Sounds like they can. You saying they can comply?
They believe they can.
They
That's
believe
what
they
they've
can.
stated.
Any questions?
No more of him, no. City solicitor here?
No, we don't have the city solicitor in here, so we can't.
All right, thank you.
Oh, is he gone? Okay, there he is, all right. You have some questions for the city? Yeah, we should call him.
I'm curious as to this financial security agreements regarding a question raised. Financial security agreements in place? You have,
Do you want a little more background on what that
Yeah.
means? Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to do that or? Okay. When we get final approval for these projects and it's gone through the approval process with City Council, there's a set of agreements that has to take place that become part of the recording documents. And one of them is a financial security, which is for all the public improvements that'll be part of this project. Let's say it's sidewalks or something like that. That's built into a financial security agreement. Then there's a stormwater management ordinance agreement, or management agreement, basically. And then the third one is, why is it escaping me? The third one is, the developer agreement, yeah, excuse me. So that's what is in reference in that letter, I think, that you're reading. And that's typical for all our projects that are approved. We usually have all three sets of agreements that have to be approved by the applicant and the city.
and none of those haven't taken place yet.
No, they usually take place after the approval by City Council for the project.
So let me understand the process.
Mm-hmm.
So we say we agree to this, it goes to city council, and they agree to move it forward. But at the same time, they need to make sure that they are complying with all the
Yes.
planning
Yep.
and all engineers
Yes.
conditions prior to them doing a final, as per se.
That's exactly right. And that's built in, actually, to the resolution to City Council of all those conditions,
Right.
including if there's waivers proposed, the vote on the waivers that the City Council has to take. So
All of
there's,
that is included in the resident.
In the resolution.
Enacted by city council.
enacted by City Council. And
Okay.
we've become, in the last couple of months, a lot more detailed on those resolutions because,
Right.
as you know, they were just a few sentences prior to it. So there's a little more reading to do at the City
I
Council
have one
meetings.
question. When do you guys propose to have these review meetings for the stormwater management?
Do you-
So, City of Chester is in charge of reviewing all the plans in terms of the subdivision land development ordinance. other outside agencies may be involved as far as potable water service, sanitary sewer service, stormwater discharge. And when it comes to stormwater management, there are several agencies that review their stormwater management plan. Our firm, on behalf of the city, reviews it in terms of the city's stormwater management ordinances. The Delaware County Planning Commission reviews it in terms of Delaware County's stormwater management ordinances. The County Conservation District, on behalf of Pennsylvania DEP, reviews it in compliance with the NPDES post-construction stormwater management requirements. And also, if they're tying into a Delcora combined sanitary and storm sewer, Delcora will also review it. The question with this particular project, they're proposing to have some of the stormwater tie into a private stormwater system we believe owned by Harrah's, and part of it tied into a combined sewer owned by Delcora, but because of Delcora's consent order with the EPA in this location, may not be able to accept that stormwater. So it's a complicated process, but we will sort through it on behalf of the city's interests, and we'll work with the developer and meeting with Delcora and the County Conservation District to make sure everything complies with all agencies' requirements, not just the city's. Sorry, that's a long-winded answer to your question.
That's okay.
But it makes sense.
Yeah, and just one thing to follow up too, don't forget, in that, like 9 out of 10 plans that get approved by you and city council, they have conditions on them.
I know.
And that's what's typical,
I just
so,
wanna make
yep,
sure.
yep, go ahead.
Sorry, if I may, members of the
Yes,
board.
state your name.
My name is David Shafkowitz. I'm an attorney. I'm here on behalf of the applicant. I just wanted to take 5 minutes. Maybe I can help organize a little bit of the thoughts and some of the history as it deals with our relationship with Harrah's. Harrah's does own the property. They will continue to own the property. We're a tenant. We have a lease. The lease requires us to do all this work. And the lease then requires us to install all the work. But as Mr. Madison and the solicitor had said, Harrah's will be signing off on all the agreements as the property owner nonetheless, as somebody who is also responsible for doing the work that we're proposing for the site. So having said that, we're all going to be part of it. We don't need them here because they're relying on us to do all this work and getting it approved for this particular use. They do see it. They give us the okay to be here. But we probably won't see them come to the meetings. Sometimes it's very hard to even get in touch with them, but you guys might know that already. The one thing that I find interesting is that Harrah's is in the same floodplain we are. So I don't know when the casino was built, what that process was like, when the land development process they went through, but they're in the same soils we're in. They're in the same condition we're in. They have stormwater management on their site. It doesn't seem to be that, unless we haven't heard anything in talking to them, that they have any stormwater management problems on their portion of the site. We're just, how big? Not even acres? They're about 1.75 acres. I'm not sure how big they are with the racetrack and the like, but nevertheless, they're in the same floodplain, and we're not aware of any stormwater management issues with them. One other thing that Mr. Fritz had talked about, he had his list of things in the back that he wanted to know more of. I figured I would take the opportunity maybe to share some of those, because, you know, the professional guys don't always know the operational stuff. So, with me also is Naresh Patel, who would be the principal of this particular Dunkin', and is ultimately his entity is the tenant. I think when we talked about hours of operation, we were talking about.
Yeah, you got it.
I will. What were the hours of operation?
What's allowed by the ordinance, and then if we move beyond, I know one other concern was after midnight,
Mhm.
we only do drive-through.
Okay, so we would stick with what the ordinance permits as it relates to the hours of operation. We're not asking for any adjustments for that. The project data table that has the zoning ordinance requirements, I think we do have a zoning table on the plan, but we'll make sure that that's pointed out. The facade along 4th Street, which I think is what we were looking at on this plan to give some context, would be... Sorry about that. Sometimes I think I'm loud enough, but I know I'm not. This is what it looks like from the back of the building as people would come around the drive-through. Right now, there really isn't any windows that would be proposed. There's just some changes in the architectural interest and the colors. But I think what we're trying to do in preserving that tree line, Yes, we want the Dunkin' to be visible by people traveling, but we know that in maintaining that tree line, there's not a lot that's going to be seen in terms of the rear of the property. But we just want to give you a sense of when people are traveling in the rear of the building along what would be the 4th Street and coming around the drive-through, this is what it would be like. One of the things that I've seen Dunkin' do, which might be more interesting for the customers, is their whole thing is, you know, run on Dunkin' kind of thing, where everybody comes in the morning, they get their caffeine, and they start their day. We've seen where they would we could put like the City of Chester runs on Dunkin' or something like that, maybe in that area to create some architectural interest, if the sign ordinance would otherwise permit it. But that might be something to kind of tie it to the community as well, which I always thought was kind of a neat feature. And sometimes in the interior, they do the same thing, where they try to tie it to the community. So it's not just, you know, we know it's a franchise business, but we know we want to make it part of the community as well. So that's just some other options or thoughts in terms of without windows that might make that area more interesting for people circulating around the site. I'm going to turn around again. Nash, I don't think we're proposing any metal seams, metal roofs, that kind of thing. So the question of whether there'll be metal panels proposed, there will be none. We talked about the sidewalk access and the pedestrian access around the building, and hopefully you guys can give us guidance on what you find you're most comfortable with. Scott and Jeff on the lighting plan, or the foot candles provided, or will we add that?
They're all in there, but we can.
You can modify as necessary. So that would be a will comply also. The electrical service, we are a little bit controlled by the provider, but whatever pole we would kind of pull from, it's my understanding it would go underground. We wouldn't pull above ground to connect to the building. It's definitely going to be nicer and look better to be underground. The drive-through stacking we talked about. Maybe just to provide a little bit more detail on that. Oh, you'll turn the plan for me? So the way Dunkin' operates is from the time somebody orders from their drive-through to the time they get to pick up, it's supposed to be a 90-second wait, give or take. So in other words, I don't know if last time you were at a Dunkin', but if it's being operated well, there's a little box there that is counting time. And when that person gets to 90 seconds on that little box that's next to the cash register at the drive-through, the person should be leaving the drive-through. So with that theory that it works properly that way, Dunkin' usually says a 6 to 8 car stack works for them. We know here we have 11. And the 11, as I understand it, will get us to here. And then we still have interior to the site. God forbid it's that busy, which would be great if it is. But the way Dunkin' operates is if we're stacking here, that means somebody here is not doing their job. And then Dunkin' Corporate knows that because they get those reports daily, if not certainly weekly. And then the applicant would have to improve his operations. But we don't expect that this 11-car stack and the Dunkin's that Mr. Patel operates, which probably has, in this area, probably 10 or 12, and everything seems to operate efficiently. So, but I think Ms. Pyatt, the issue you raised, we see a lot, and we love to blame Chick-fil-A because they are the best franchise business out there, but their drive-throughs are always crazy busy, and they make the rest of our drive-throughs look bad because they're always out into the streets, and they have 3 lanes and everything. Here, our type of product is a lot easier to make. It can go out faster, so we don't have the same kind of problems. But because we're internal to the site, and I think even Mr. Madison or Mr. Fritz may have mentioned because we have Hickson Street, God forbid, if we're getting out to here, at that point, we have like 40 cars, 50 cars waiting, which would be nuts, but would be amazing. But
will both restaurants use the drive-through or just
No,
the Dunkin'?
just the Dunkin'.
Okay.
The other one, depending on what it comes down to, it'd definitely be just a sit-down or delivery only kind of takeout, because the type of square footage that would propose, which would leave them about 1,500 square feet, give or take, that's what we'll see.
Are you able to say if it's a franchise or not, or it could be local? You don't even know?
We don't know yet, right? But If you want to, this is Nash Patel.
Okay, state his name and also
Nash
an
Patel.
address.
It can be because Duncan is part of a bigger,
Address.
oh,
They need an address.
oh, sorry, you want the whole address?
Ewing address.
1340 Parkway Avenue, Suite B, Ewing, New Jersey, 08628.
Okay, thank you. They
All
need
right.
it.
Caught me off guard on that one. I'm like, wait, what's my address? All right, to answer your question, in regards to the other type of restaurant, we did have an interest when we initially came here that somebody within the township was interested. We have not had any discussions until we knew that we had this up and ready and approved. In addition, Dunkin' is part of another bigger brand, Inspire Brands. They own multiple brands. We were also entertaining them in terms of what other uses they want us to present here. But we do treat each business on a silo basis, so they're kind of keeping them two separate individual businesses for the purpose of legal.
Separate doors and all that? Is that?
Separate doors and
Yeah,
everything,
okay.
yes.
Yep, okay. All right.
Thank you.
Can't remember his address. It's typical of Nash. So yeah, and the one thing we'll figure out too, Paul, is just on the new address.
Yeah.
Obviously, we don't have a concern about the number. I'm just not, and it obviously will need one. It's not, but I don't think it's proposed. It is a standalone piece now, though, right? Even though it's owned by Harris, it's not part of the bigger piece. We talked about the protective barrier for the outdoor seating. So I just wanted to take a few minutes. I hope I didn't waste too much of your time going through those items because they seem to be very important as for Paul to list them separately. So I just didn't want to make sure we know we can comply with them and how we're going to comply with those.
I'd only make a minor comment that in your images of the building, you show landscaping right up against the building. Be nice if you could do that now, because I think it is just lawn. I could be wrong on that, but, and if the utility meters are in that area, that would be another reason to do like shrubs, and that's all I'm saying, not trees, but shrubs or something like that.
Yeah. I think there's plenty of area.
Yeah, I know which one I would more.
Right. The only area that we worry about is when we get close to the drive-through. So people have to be right up to the building.
Yeah, you can't have plants there. I get
Yeah.
that. I
We have some,
understand that. Yeah.
some townships
Oh,
that
yeah,
don't,
over a thorny bush or something, right.
You have to have one of those things you put out the window and it, no.
Yeah, really, okay, yeah. Okay.
One of the other things too, and I appreciate the board still listening, if we're inclined to help the applicant kind of move this thing a little bit forward, but we know we have some things that we still need to get to, is we can bifurcate the application if that makes you feel a little bit more comfortable. If the board is inclined to say, hey, look, this looks good, keep moving, maybe a recommendation of preliminary approval alone would be good, and then we would come back for final when we get all the outside agency stuff squared away. So it was just another idea. Do you want to speak to that?
This is a pretty simple plan. In this case, my recommendation would be to leave it as a preliminary final application and not provide any recommendation to council at this time, but rather to table it until we work out the stormwater to make sure that it truly isn't a deal breaker.
You saying to table or not to?
As your engineer, my recommendation would be to table the project.
So you get everything? Okay. Thank you. And then we had an audience person who would like to come forward.
Candace Newsom, City Clerk. One, we're not a township, we're a city. So, the traffic study to me is going to play a big part also. That's 291. It is a racetrack. If I'm on the opposite side of 4th Street coming off of Hinkson, I'm going to try to run across that street. There's no signal or anything right there. So that's a big safety issue to me. I would love to see what the traffic study comes up with. Also, if I'm coming off of 4th Street, and I'm going off of Miss Pyatt, if I'm coming off of 4th Street from City Hall's direction, if that traffic gets backed up, now 291 is going to be backed up. I have just been to a Dunkin' Donuts, the one on 322. Not 322, I'm sorry. In Chichester, whatever that is. Not even at Conchester, by the McDonald's, up the road from there.
Chichester Ave.
Yes, horrible. Horrible. So that's my thought. Hopefully, we can look into what this traffic study is coming up with also. I just don't want to see anyone injured or killed.
Thank you.
I do have a question, because am I getting this correct, that there's going to be some adjustment to 291? No adjustments to 291?
No adjustments to 291, no.
That's right.
It's independent of 291. As far as this project is.
No,
Yeah.
I'm not talking about this.
Oh, you mean down the line, will there be improvements to 291? Is that what you're
To-
saying?
Let me say it right,
Yeah.
Second Street,
Yep.
because I'm not good with numbers for streets. Second Street, aren't there supposed to be some changes made?
Possibly. They're mostly at the west end of the city. That's where the part is.
Not up in this area.
I don't think they're part of the plans. I could be speaking wrong on that, but there's been no request for like a greenway easement in this area now. That's something we can look into as we go forward,
I
but,
just had that in my
it's a good
mind,
question
the
because-
connection to all this.
and we've seen so many projects lately on West Second Street. It's a good question.
Okay.
Yep, yep. Yeah.
Sure.
Candace Newsom, City Clerk again. Is there only one way in and out for the Duncan?
No, there's the access to Hinkson and the access to Harris Drive.
If I'm driving in a car?
Yeah.
See, that's another thing. On 291, if I'm on the opposite side, as if I'm coming towards City Hall, again, 291 is a racetrack. I'm going to try to herp and beat traffic to cut in.
Isn't
That's,
there
I
a
think
light?
that's where they propose to come in off the Harris Drive. If you're coming towards City Hall, how you gonna cross over, well, how you, yeah. So if you're coming, this mic, I got a mic.
You can't go out.
You got two.
I got two.
Well, as I understand it, there's a traffic light at Harris, right?
Right.
Yes,
Yeah.
there is.
Correct.
right.
And I was just reminded that for Hickson, it's only entrance only, not exit. So people wouldn't go out to the area where there's no traffic light. So if you're leaving the site, you have to go out to the lighted intersection. So-
They do it all the time.
Yeah, I know. I wish I control human behavior. If I could figure out how to do that, I would let you guys know.
Yeah, so
but I just
Candace,
couldn't
it's
do it.
one way in here only. There's no out this way on Hinkson. So they would go in, not at this intersection. So this would hopefully catch most of the traffic that's coming east. The light is at Harris Boulevard and 291, or West Second Street. I would think if you're coming from City Hall, you would most likely take this one way in. And if you're coming from the east, you would likely take it at the light because there's no light
Is there a
here.
center?
Right, right. Hopefully.
One of the things that we always see with this kind of site, as you're talking about with the traffic study, is that these types of uses don't attract new trips. They attract people who are already on the road network. So we have no problem with that because we don't expect it to have any major impact. But that's usually what we see with these types of sites. Everything is different in the city, Trista. Well, you know, we also have the casino, so everyone's going to leave the casino, get their coffee. Well, again, thank you, everybody. Appreciate your time listening.
Thank you.
And hearing about our project.
Thank you.
Have any more questions?
I have a question. This restaurant not only serve drive-through, they're serving walk-in, and also, are they serving sit-down inside?
Yes, they do have inside as well as the outside seating that's shown on the corner here.
Okay.
So,
Ask your question.
down.
Got it. So when the other business is added into the Dunkin' Donuts, is there a are you sharing the parking lot, or is there a separate parking area for the other business that is
It will
planned?
be all shared parking, as the calculations for parking were done with employees and the size of what you see on the plan here, 4,000 plus square footage. So it meets the zoning intent for parking for not only guests, but also the employees.
So that being said, is 2 ADA parking spaces sufficient?
For
30.
30, it is.
Okay.
And 30 is what we did provide on the plan based on the size of this restaurant, so.
Thank you.
And what have you decided about charging stations for future use? Have you decided on anything, or since you're going to have eventually two separate restaurants or whatever there?
So I'll speak to my experience with Tesla. I'll speak to my experience with Tesla, and I do drive a Tesla right now.
Okay,
So believe me, I would put it in there.
okay.
But he also has to know how much power we can pull off the
Right.
electric grid line. And because that is maintained separately and requires separate type of utilities because of the amount of usage, it cannot be a high, they call it, what is it called? Superchargers. They can be level 2 type of chargers, right? Which is what we have placed at our other Dunkin' Donuts. Where we have superchargers, we have 2 sites that have superchargers, but that is not managed by us or owned by us. That is completely owned by Tesla,
Okay.
right? Tesla manages them, Tesla supplies them, Tesla brings the power to them. It's completely a separate, and they do not utilize, to your comment about having a conduit. The only time we would put a conduit is if we're putting a level 2 charger, which is much slower charging capacity. Something you would have at a home.
But you say you have done that before at
We
previous-
have done that.
yeah.
We can definitely put a level 2 chargers. Again, it's
Yeah.
not, that's doable.
Yeah.
It just, remember, also ties up 2, 3 parking spaces. Same thing on the superchargers. If they were to put that, they would definitely, depending on, they're just not gonna put 3 to 4. They're gonna put almost 10.
Oh,
So that's why you gotta take that into account as well. And that would imply that we would have to provide somewhere within, on the property, additional 10 spots that would be dedicated for these superchargers. Right? We can definitely do the level 2 charges.
so with the level 2, how many would you put in?
We put in 2 at a time.
2?
Yeah.
Okay, for the size of this property?
Yeah.
And that's a consideration, it's a recommendation.
Right.
It's just,
Yeah.
we don't want them ripping up pavement,
No,
which
no, no.
a savvy developer would not do. We're just kind of like giving them a heads up, like maybe think about it, which seems like you do, so.
All right, thank you. Well, anybody have any more questions before we move? Okay, so, can we get a motion?
So I have to consider,
It is.
We're still talking.
they haven't considered.
Yeah, there's a lot to think about.
You do have this in front of you, I think, right?
Yeah, I
Okay, okay.
Oh,
Yep.
because too much. Excuse me.
all right, can I get a motion?
I make a motion that the planning commission tables this preliminary final development and make sure that they can, contend with all the outstanding items from the planning department, zoning, the engineering department, as well as Shade Tree Commission and the solicitor recommendations.
I
Second.
second.
Okay. So all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, no nays, And hearing no nays, and no absences, abstains, then we will, motion carries. Okay?
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. We just-
Okay. Moving on to our second and final order of business, or new business. This is a preliminary and final subdivision, and the applicant is the City of Chester. And the plan proposes to subdivide land owned by the City of Chester, a portion of which, the subdivided property, will be transferred to Delcora. The existing Delcora property will be consolidated with the transferred City of Chester property, and then the existing access easements will be vacated. I'm going to try to explain this better in the photographs that I have here. So this first one is just a straight up down view of the multiple parcels that are being re-subdivided. This one literally shows 3 parcels, but there's some sub parcels that Ron will do a better job of explaining them. But let me do my best here to explain some things. So here's a bird's eye view. So you know on the left is William Penn Landing, the monuments right down here. We're on East 2nd Street here. Here's the existing city public works facility. And then here's Delcora's pump station, existing. This is all existing. Here's an image that shows in color what the city currently owns. So the blue includes the public works facility, obviously, and the park. And then this land behind or south of Delcora's property is actually owned by the city as well. So the city owns all the frontage, if you will, on the train tracks. This is existing. What's proposed is basically this. The land will shrink from the city standpoint. They'll basically own all of the existing Penn's Landing Park. The park will not shrink, but the city is giving up in land to Delcora where the existing public works facility is, and then also that land I pointed out that's on the south side of that land. So if you remember, and this is in my letter to you, back in January of 25, the city approved a new public works facility off of West 2nd Street in between Pennell and Lloyd. And part of that deal is this land transfer. So we're now coming to the point where, as the public works facility gets closer to actually being constructed, this land transfer needs to be finalized, excuse me. So in the end, the existing public works facility will be gone, will be demolished, and Delcora will expand its pumping station system down here, which is needed, and they need most of that land. What that development will look like in the future is to be determined. That'll be another development that may or may not come in front of us. It is a public utility, but I got to believe Delcora would come in front of the Planning Commission to present. For Ron's sake, just so he knows, I have some existing photographs of the pumping station, the public works facility as it looks today. It's in rough shape. Here's Penn Landings Park. Where my laser is where the monument is, roughly. Here's another image of the pumping station. And then I have the actual proposed subdivision plan. So this is existing conditions. Here's Delcora's property. All this is city-owned land. So it includes the park and public works facility. This is the proposal. This will all become Delcora. A new line, there's an existing line here now, but it will be extended all the way through to separate Penn's Landing Park and the future Delcora property. In my review letter, I did not find anything other than, as far as zoning goes, everything seems to comply with dimensional requirements and things like that. My only concern was that, just like several of the projects we've seen in the past year, we're going to need new addresses for both these sites, or both these new properties. And that there's just some buttoning up of survey marking that should be done, and that's kind of just a standard practice. So I'm happy to take any questions, but I will let Ron explain this because it is a little more technical than maybe I explained it. So, but I'm happy to take questions if you have any.
Okay. I'll wait till he explains, then I'll throw out my questions. I have about 3 or 4 or
Okay,
5
good.
or 6 or 7.
Okay. Ron, do you need something? What's the best thing for me to show? Existing?
Yeah.
Okay.
You can go to the existing. So, in this case, Collier's Engineering and Design is hired by Delcora under contract to work for both Delcora and the city in preparing this plan. They're both owners, they're both applicants. As I said, even before Collier's was retained as your municipal engineer, this was contemplated for the long term that they wanted to do the new Public Works garage with the ARPA funds, and that they would do this land swap with Delcora. The existing Delcora sewage pumping station is in great need of renovation. In fact, they are planning on completely replacing it, constructing a new pump station next to the existing pump station while maintaining its operations, and then switching it over and demoing the old pump station once it's completed. But that is a future land development plan before you. So the city and Delcora agreed with about a 36-person Zoom call that it would be best, after looking at several alternatives, that the lot line would land right at the existing edge of the Penn Park because of how complicated it would be legally to separate any land that is designated Penn Park. So it is both a lot consolidation plan and a subdivision plan, and meaning that there are many lots being combined into one piece of property and then subdivided into 2 properties. All the existing access easements that are hatched on that photo will be eliminated because they won't be necessary, and there'll be simply a new lot line and new monumentation drawn vertically right where the existing Penn Park is. And it will consolidate the 2 pieces of property that currently make up Penn Park into one property. So the only thing left for this is for you to recommend it as a preliminary final conditional approval to City Council, and a resolution will be passed by City Council. The conditions would be Planning Director Paul Fritz's correspondence dated September 2nd. And then when we go to record the plan, we will amend it to show that all the monumentation and iron pins have been set, and our surveyors will issue a surveyor certification to the Planning Director before it's recorded, and we'll put the addresses and a revision note on the plan. It will be recorded. The special city solicitor, Carl Ewald, would draw up the agreement of sale between the city and Delcora, and our surveyors are preparing survey deed descriptions for the 2 proposed lots and the area of land to be transferred from the city to Delcora. So that's it in a nutshell. There's no improvements proposed to this plan. It's simply a lot consolidation and subdivision and transfer of property.
Okay, so before I ask my question, did I understand you to say that there's going to be payment for something, or just an out-and-out land transfer?
The agreement of sale, and I wasn't privy to these negotiations, but I assume it's $1 transfer.
Okay, that's not payment. Okay, so I can go with my question.
But
Yeah.
Hold on.
Maybe let the Chief of Staff, he can maybe answer that more clearly.
I didn't want you to misstate anything, so, because this is I'm sorry, Thomas Moore, Chief of Staff for the City of Chester. There is a monetary consideration the city had purchased the ground from a third party where they're locating the new Public Works building. Part of that agreement of sale was agreed to be paid for per a gentleman's agreement, which will be solidified as a result of this. There's roughly a $1.4 million transaction that we're looking at. That is part of the requirement that we have. We're about to go to construction on the Public Works building in the next 2 weeks. So that's part of our source and use of funding to actually fund the $7.2 million construction project that we have for the Public Works building.
Okay, so explain that so I can understand. You're getting the 1-point-something million if,
This is part of the requirement. What we wanted to do was.
if you do this.
We needed to, there's an agreement of sale in place that's in draft form to actually convey property that exists, that consists of the existing Public Works building, which we would convey to Delcora. That has been a gentleman's agreement for probably a year and a half, 2 years. So this would basically say, okay, what is it that we're actually conveying, right? So because what we didn't want to do was encroach upon the William Penn Monument. We wanted to maintain the green space as it was. There was some consideration about offsetting off of the creek a little bit. It was deemed, let's just take that line at the very top, bring it all the way down, and then convey everything to the north or east of that line to Delcora. That would then be what we would get the consideration from Delcora.
Okay, my concern was that we should get something out of it and not just.
We are. There's a $1.4 million transaction that's
and
included as
if-
part of this.
And the reason I asked that, I didn't tie the two together, is that this piece of property, which we call Penn's Landing, isn't being treated right. I mean, any property that we own that has a name like that, we just got the name back. I don't know how long it took us. It should be developed so that people will be coming there for something. And that's what I was trying to get at, enough money to do something with it, but I didn't
And that's exactly the reason we didn't want to move the property lines that would encroach upon the green space, because that was an initial proposal that we would kind of shift things over towards Penn Street. That would open up access to the Chester Creek, but we thought, you know what? Penn Street should be your main entrance point. There's some ground on the other side of the railroad tracks that Kimberly-Clark owns. There's conversations with them to discuss how we might make that into some kind of public use. So Penn Street could theoretically be a nice access point to the Delaware River, making improvements to the park, but also the access to the riverfront. So that's why that property line wasn't moved further towards Penn Street, to maintain the green space and give us the opportunity to make some improvements, funding availability.
real improvements. I don't mean.
Well, that costs money, unfortunately, so, you know, I need not remind you, the city is in bankruptcy, so there's
I
some
know,
things that.
but if you're going to give away something, you ought to get
We're
enough.
we're
to
not
do
giving
something.
anything away.
I mean, you ought to get enough back to
Yep.
do something with it and do things right.
Well, what we're selling is nothing to do with William Penn Park. What we're selling is the
Okay.
Public Works building and that
But
adjacent
it all
ground.
ties in when you.
Yeah. But that source of funds that we're getting from Delcora, once the agreement of sale is executed, is earmarked for the Public Works building.
I just hate to see us as a city ignore important spaces.
Totally agree, totally agree.
Important spaces, yeah.
Yep.
And I would even say Delcor is aware of, when they build that new facility, of creating some kind of buffer, nicer looking wall fence on that boundary rather than a barbed wire 10-foot fence.
Yeah.
Do something generous to the park.
Delcora has been a very good partner, a very understanding partner throughout this process. So I think if we, maintain that level of relationship with them, I think once they make their proposed improvements, I think we'll get some improvements that could also benefit William Penn Park.
Sidewalk.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it is neglected.
Mhm. So is the existing Public Works building, which is why this has been a high priority for the city, because that Public Works building is,
It should have
What
one of
she
those
said.
red signs with the X.
yeah. So we're just so you have a little bit of background, I know that's
Okay,
separate from
thank
this
you.
issue.
I have another question, but I'll wait
No,
till
go
other
ahead.
folks know.
No, please,
All your
please.
questions, because you might get us.
I'll wait.
No, please.
I don't have any. Nobody?
good?
Go ahead.
Okay, now,
Go ahead.
did you? When Delcora, what is the specific purpose? Explain to me as though I don't understand what Delcora is going to do with this. I heard him, but I need it
That's
again.
fine.
I need it.
I don't want to speak
I'm-
for Delcora. I want to speak here for the
Okay,
city
I
of
want you to
Chester.
explain it, so
So,
I'm the common city person,
That's all right.
person in the city. Explain it to me again.
so Delcora is under a consent order with US EPA and the Pennsylvania DEP to do improvements to their system. As part of that is that pump station. Would you put up the one photo of the pump station? Right there. So you can see that that pump station has a lot of temporary piping on the ground. That's there temporarily, that's probably been there, I don't know,
Long time.
yeah, a long time. So they need to construct a new, bigger and improved with more capacity pump station right next to it.
Okay,
And when it's up and running, then that old pump station will be demolished.
okay.
So pump stations are very difficult projects in that the sewage going to the pump station never stops. So it is very difficult to renovate a pump station in place. It is far easier to build a brand-new pump station next to it and then transfer the flow and then demolish the old pump station. And this one pumps through a 58-inch force main.
Yeah, 5 feet, right?
So almost as big a diameter as I am tall is how much sewage is pumping at several feet per second across.
Okay. The reason
city.
why I asked for that explanation is, I just want to make sure they're not enlarging to take on anybody else's, okay? Because we had this problem came through before where they wanted to accept stuff from other cities. I don't want Chester to become a dumping ground. That's why I'm asking. Explain it to me what this
Right.
is for. I just don't want Chester to become a dumping ground.
So when Delcora comes back to you with a land development plan for this pumping station, those are appropriate questions at that time. It is my understanding, but I am not Delcora's wastewater engineer, but it is my understanding their current consent order with US EPA and Pennsylvania DEP will not allow them to take on any other municipalities' sewage until they clean up what they already have. And this is part of that.
So, until means that's an opportunity.
I don't know the answer to that, and I can't speak to it one way or the other. I just know this project has to happen per their consent order to fix this pump station, and they need more land to do it.
So if they decide to take on other areas, will that come back to us or will never come back to us again?
So the land development plan for the pump station will come back to you as a land development plan. The issue of Delcora expanding their service area under Act 537 usually is a 10-year process full of public hearings. So if anything, that's down the road and many, many hurdles to overcome before they can get there. But I'll, again, preface that I am not Delcora's wastewater engineer. I am the city's municipal engineer.
All my questions
Okay.
I've asked.
Well, when does the address have to be solidified? Or how does that work?
Ideally, it's before the recording, and
Okay.
we work it out with each applicant. In this case, it's going to be 2 entities, and we got to figure it out. That way, it's
Does
recorded.
it
and
go
it's-
through the postal?
Well, that's a great point. After it's recorded, then it's my responsibility to let the postal service know, fire department, emergency services, assessment. What else am I missing? Everybody, make everybody aware, including city engineer, et cetera. So, yes.
So what
that's-
do you do, just pick up a number off your head?
No, it sounds like that, but no, what we do is, there's already a numbering system, obviously, in the city. It's block by block, so I think I recommended, I can't remember, 701 or something. That's because it's the 700 block. I can't remember what I put.
No, that was the other one.
Yeah, well, that was the other one. Yeah, whatever it is. I think it's like 199 or something now.
Yeah.
So we try to make it sensical. And the other thing we look at is emergency services in the county level has its own system. We try to link as closely as possible and take that same number so there's not mass confusion about different addresses. So the city is working through a lot of zero number addresses, as you've seen in these applications. As we go through this land development process, as Fran and Lisa and the city staff and finance, as they look at new assessment or new projects, whether through building permits or land development. So it's an ongoing process. We have over 800 some zero number addresses. So we're trying to correct that. Yeah.
Okay. All right, anybody else have any more questions? Any questions? All right, hearing none. Let's, can I get a motion?
I make a motion that the planning commission recommend approval for conditions, with conditions, to the city council for a preliminary final subdivision application for 0 West Second Street involving subdivision of land owned by the city of Chester. A portion to be subdivided by the Delaware County Regional Water Quality Control Authority, DELCOR, and consolidated with DELCOR's existing property, all subject to the planning, comments by the Planning and Zoning Department review letter dated September 2nd, 2025.
Okay, can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, hearing no abstains. Motion carries.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here. So.
Can I just make a comment? As far as the trash to steam and Delcora, I think they do give, like, what is it, of their area, like, they have people come in and you can tour their area.
Oh, like open houses or something, or?
Yeah, no, I'm just saying to give her a better understanding as far as where this sewage is coming from. If it's coming, might be coming to here, I know they may get it there at the other station, but as far as here, you know, it may give her a better understanding.
Oh, no, my understanding was to see if it was just Chester's.
Oh. But he said he didn't know, so.
Just Chester.
No, one way of determining that was when you walk in Delcora, they got a map. And the map is colored, and it clearly states what's what, whether it's combined or subdivided. So the bulk of it is pink, which means it's ours. Nobody else.
Well,
That, I can't see it no plainer when you
no,
look
I'm
at
just
the map.
saying, I just don't want us to,
Right.
no, I'm not talking, no, because I heard their explanation when they tried to open up a plant and bring stuff from other cities. I don't want to see stuff come from other cities for Chester for any other reason from now on. We have enough here, enough dump here already, without somebody bringing something else to Chester. That was my concern.
Okay.
All right, so we'll move on with the director's report.
Yep, I will be brief. I have some updates for you. The first one is the Saldo application review deadlines. There is no change, I think, from our last meeting in August. I identified that the two projects that have been previously extended got extended another to another few months to November 12th, and that's for the 611 to 619 West 7th Street, which again was a plan.
Is
that
this
did-
for the apartments that were house, or whatever they were doing?
No, the planning commission had not seen this. They actually tabled the plan before they even came here. But
Oh.
we were worried about them thinking they're on the clock, so we're keeping track of them and pretending they are on the clock. That's one extension. The other extension is for 3308 West 2nd Street, which is Brett Rose sign company expansion. They're working through some HOP things and other items that were in our review letters before they come back. I'm expecting to see them back before November. The other one I'm not sure about yet. The other two items, or the other item is an update on the zoning amendment that I've given to you, I think, 2 months ago, that related to construction company and tradesperson headquarters. I think we were in agreement that the amendment looked okay, but it's actually too early to make a motion on it today, to make a recommendation to City Council. One being, I need the county to sign off on it. It's not a necessity that they sign off it, but it would look better if we get the comments from the county first. That's actually true of our land development projects too, is that we receive those comments. So for instance, the drive-through restaurant had not received the county comments. But again, we're not beholden to those comments, but it is helpful to have them before we make a motion. So at next meeting, on October 8th, I will ask that you make a motion to approve that amendment, and we'll run it through the approval process, which also includes a public hearing before it's voted on by council. I think I did tell Annette and maybe Susan that on Monday, and I sent this into an email to you, I did meet in front of council's Community and Economic Development Committee, which Councilman Green heads up, and consists of most of the council except Davis, and he may be the only one not included on that committee. And I presented this, and they were positive about it. So now it's almost just an informality section. So we'll vote on it at the next meeting and run it through the approval process, which will probably run into beginning of November, maybe. I said the next meeting is October 8th. One last thing. So I've spoken to the county planning department, and they are willing to help sponsor, if the city's willing to host, some educational courses from the state related to planning. So these would be in-house, not virtual meetings. They'd be classroom sessions. They're about a couple hours each. I think there'd be 3 of those sessions on zoning and planning. There's some options, what the courses would be. I will send out what those options are and see if I can get some feedback on which ones you would think valuable. I actually think it's a no-brainer for us to participate. I don't think it would be a problem to host those meetings. And the nice thing is we can invite the zoning hearing board.
Yeah,
We can
everybody.
invite Tom, we can invite Nona, we can invite everybody to it. They have a limit, I think they have a size limit of 30 or 25. Regardless, if we at least get a group of people to come, that would be great. And they actually can invite other adjacent municipalities too. And I think it'd be a nice thing if Chester hosted
Yep.
that as well.
Yeah.
So stay tuned on that. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Just as a endorsement, every new hire I have, I send to these courses for municipal planning, municipal zoning, municipal subdivision, land development ordinance, that they need to go to these same courses our clients are going to, so that they understand this from day one. And one of the lead instructors across the state works for us. And this is a side thing. He just feels he's a professional planner as well as an engineer, and he instructs these courses along with his wife. That's where he met his wife, so it's a real love story. But he really enjoys educating, and it really is fun when if I'm in a municipality I've never been to, they might not recognize me, but they recognize the name because of Rick Roseberry and his instruction. So hopefully you'll get Rick Roseberry. He's really good.
Yeah, either way, it's a well-oiled machine, and they have a standard presentation, and Kim's been to one of them. I've been through a couple of them. They are worth it, because you don't have to listen to me. You're listening to another professional. Give you background on what's important to know about planning and zoning.
But
So
it's good that we
stay
would
tuned
host.
on that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it'll be good for us to host.
Back and forth.
Right.
Yep, yep, yep. All right, that's my director's report. I'm happy to take any questions if you have any.
I see the buy rights are here.
Oh, yeah, the buy rights. We always forget the buy rights. Yep, you've got them. I don't know if you have any questions about
I'm
those.
start calling them my drive-by rights.
Drive-by rights.
I got you.
I know you were, I was introduced during the time that you left Planning Commission. We decided that, what happened was we would have conversation after our meetings.
Right.
And Susan or Miss Leola or Miss Eartha would say, hey, what's going on over at blah, 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 blah. So it happened so often that we said, you know what, I think it's fair to just provide them with whatever was permissible, and something that we couldn't dispute because the ordinance says that they are allowed. They got a P next to it. There wasn't anything outside of, what they're doing to prevent us from, having to challenge it. So they were by rights. And I don't want you to drive past and see somebody's something and not be aware of it because you're on the planning commission, and we feel like you guys should be involved in all aspects of any kind of development, whether it is accessory structure, or even just business, going into someone else's name. And we just like to keep you guys informed because you are our left artery.
Thank you. So if there's nothing else, I'll call for an adjournment.
Move that the meeting be adjourned.
I second.
Those in favor? Aye. Meeting has been adjourned. It is 3:37.
I'm gonna go home.
Thank you.
All right, y'all better cut that heater off, whoever cut that heater off. Tom,
Yeah, we're still live because I still have questions to ask.
I gotta ask Tom a question.
I got a question.
No, my still live. Okay, I'm gonna get a picture. I know you still live. She's on the roll.
Okay.
So, this will be a resolution on council's next agenda. And, we will get the proposed, lot, the instructions to Carl Ewald, as well as the description for the land to be transferred.
That is.
Was it Carl who developed the
Yeah.
agreement?
I guess.
I know we were waiting for this, so.
So Ken, I guess, is on